Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. Today's guest is Saundra Ivey. She's the interim executive director of the Shelby County Humane Society. And as most of you may or may not know, I'm a big fan of animals and animal shelters. So welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here.
The Shelby County Humane Society has, over the years that I've been involved with humane societies, developed quite a reputation for being a good place.
That's nice to hear.
I hear good things about what y'all do there.
Mm-hmm.
But for starters, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up in the position that you're currently in? And I guess I should put emphasis on the word interim.
Mm-hmm.
That implies that it's temporary.
Well, I'm a retired nurse. I was a nurse practitioner. So I've been in the healthcare or social services field my entire career, which spans over 45 years. And then I retired. And I've always had an animal.
And went crazy.
I was already crazy.
You can't retire. Once you've been busy, once you've been busy every day, it's hard to just stop, isn't it?
It is. And the other thing is I wanted to make a difference with something. And I had already spent my whole life working with people. And I love animals. I've always had a pet, and it's usually a rescue of some type. And my urge to take care of something, I guess, because of my nursing background. But anyway,
we call that codependency.
I've worked a long time not to be codependent.
You can't shake it. I can't. I blame it on Catholicism.
Really? Well, I won't tell you what I blame it on. Very fundamental, though. Anyway.
We are not alone.
And that's probably why we have a lot of people that love animals.
Yes.
Because it's something that they can really relate to, and it doesn't have some of the nuances of human relationships.
Yeah.
So, and they're a helpless animal. So I think a lot of people gravitate to that. So that's probably how I got there, is I needed something to do. And so I had been a grant writer, part of my jobs, because I was in administration finally, And I went to volunteer, and I was going to do walking dogs, something simple. And so they heard that I had done some grant writing, and it was like, oh no, let me take you into the back office so we can talk you into doing that. So I did that for a while with Shelby Humane. Wrote grants. And then I ended up on the board. They asked me to join the board. And then I ended up being the president of the board. And it was at that point when I was president of the board that we had some issues that needed to be addressed. So I just raised my hand and said, I'll just go in. And so I did. And so I've been there almost a year now.
Oh, good.
So, and it has been a ride. It's a lot of fun, but you meet so many good people that really want to help animals. That's the amazing thing. There's so many kindred spirits out there that really want to help.
Yeah.
And we're not perfect. I mean, we're trying to be perfect, but we're not. Shelby Humane's been around a long time, since 1977.
Oh, yeah.
And we've been in this building for about 20 years, so it's about time for a new building.
Well, your building is directly across the street from the jail.
It is.
So I get to see you and hear the noise of the barking dogs.
Yeah.
But you're dogs and cats. I mean,
We're dogs and cats. Right now we are kind of low on cats, but we're high on dogs. We're almost to the overcrowded point, but we've got some transports coming, so we hope that'll settle down a little bit.
A lot of people don't understand, quite frankly, having raised money for animal charities, it's easier to raise money for animals than it is for people's causes sometimes, I have found, because people are so attached to their animals and to the helplessness of animals, particularly animals that are abused. And there are occasions when you end up with animals that have been abused.
Oh, yes.
And so what do you have out there that helps deal with that dynamic when you're presented with it? And how do you get the word out to people to let them know we need help?
Well, we are presented with abuse when it walks on our door, because we're an open admissions shelter, which means we don't turn anything down. We have a contract with the county, and we are a humane society, so we bring them in, and then we try to adopt them out. So we have two purposes. We cannot control what walks in the door or drags itself in the door, or the policeman brings in the door, depending on what it is. And we don't usually meet the perpetrator of that crime, but we get in on the legal end of it because we attest to the condition of the animal and that kind of thing. So we don't have a way to go back and educate that person. And we really, to tell you the truth, don't have a real good outreach mechanism that talks about being kind to animals. We talk a lot about responsibility, getting your animals vaccinated, making sure they're healthy, making sure they get spayed or neutered. But we really don't have an organized piece. We would love, but this takes money that would have to be raised to pay for this, to have an employee or maybe even some volunteers to go in schools with younger children and take puppies or kittens and stay with them. And the whole point of it is how you handle that animal, how gentle you have to be with an animal. You can't squeeze its neck, you can't pick it up by the tail, you can't, but you do it in a way that they're enjoying the animal, so it's fun for them.
Yeah.
We also have another dream. We would like to have, and I'm just going to say this, we would like to have a new shelter, which is going to take money. And one of the things we'd like to do with that, and I'll leave you with that, is that we would like to turn it into a facility where we could bring groups of children together. And the idea is, how do you learn about these use the younger dogs and cats?
We're going to take a short break, and I'm
Okay.
hopeful this show will get you some exposure and get some folks to come off the pocketbook.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put a scroller up for them to donate if they
Okay.
want to.
Okay.
But don't leave me. We're not through yet.
Okay.
This is Our Issues Birmingham. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We're talking with Saundra Ivey about Shelby County Humane Society, animals in distress, animals in need in general. And these things take money to do what she does. And that's not always an easy thing to have access to. You mentioned you were a grant writer, but where do you get your funding for your projects, particularly the one you're hoping to get going, which is a new facility?
Well, that would probably be an appeal to individuals in the Shelby County area. And you don't have to live in Shelby County to help us, but that's what we'll target. And we're not quite ready to do that yet. There are probably, grants are kind of funny. They're not always out there for capital expenditures, like that. So we'd have to do a search for that kind of money. But of course, that would be something I would look at.
When you say grant, who's the grantor?
Okay. Well, you can have Bissell Foundation, the ones that have the carpet cleaners, and they're very involved in animal welfare
Different
issues.
foundations.
Different foundations.
I'm thinking of two right now that I can approach for you, and we'll talk about that after the show.
All right.
I won't put them in an embarrassing, compromising spot on air, but I've got two in my mind.
Okay. I just wrote one yesterday, Petco, the Petco stores, and it'll be to help pay for what we call adoption readiness, which is all the things it takes to get a dog or cat ready to be adopted, which is, a list of things. So that one just went off yesterday. We also have a grant that we use because we have a very special project, and we work with domestic violence victims. And if that domestic violence victim is going into a shelter, they don't take animals. And animals are very important to the healing because of the relationship with the pet, with the victim.
Correct.
There have been studies that have shown that if they can keep their animal and keep that relationship through their treatment as they go through rehab, they're much more likely to be able to stay out of depression, repeat their behavior because of this important relationship. So that's how we got into it. And we have a grant through ADECA with the state for that, which is, it's a federal that's come down to the state to us. And we've had that several years, a real unique project. And we'd like to see that expanded. But again, you know, I have so much money from the state, but I would love to do some other things with that idea that we find a boarding place or we find fosters for those animals and we keep them until usually it's the victim is a woman, but we've had some males as well.
Yeah.
Until they're ready to get it back.
What kind of volumes of animals are we referring to here in terms of quantity?
You mean in this particular program?
In your particular shelter?
In our shelter? Over 3,000, probably about 3,500 a year. So we're kind of a mid-size shelter.
But on any given day, like, I know the number fluctuates.
It does. Our average, because I did some math on this, our average is 9 admissions a day, and that's basically 7 days a week. Because if it's an animal control pickup, we have to take it immediately. If it's an owner surrender, we try to make appointments, but still our average is 9 a day. What we've been doing, because now is the season when we're beginning, is we had 2 days in late February that we admitted 71 animals in
Wow.
2 days, which is overwhelming because I only have 2 staff in our intake because we're not a huge shelter.
No.
We need to be bigger. Let me put that in there.
Yeah. Well, you'll get there. Just keep moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
So while you have that many coming in, talk about the other side of the adoption process and getting them out.
Okay. We are doing really well with our goal is 250 adoptions out a month, and we pretty much run in that. But we also do transports that go to the northern states where they don't have puppies because they have very strict spay and neuter laws, so there are no puppies because nobody can have puppies.
Yeah,
And
Alabama's always been behind the 8 ball
Yes.
on almost everything. And I don't mind saying that because I've lived here all my life. And I've said before, my daughter asked me when she was 14, why'd you stay here? She was so wise at such a young age. So we struggle with the spay-neuter issue. And for that reason, we have a lot of strays.
Mhm.
Places like Maine and further,
New Jersey,
mostly northeastern areas.
yeah, Washington.
So we have a vehicle at Shelby Humane. How do you transport?
We have 2 large vehicles that were donated by
Mhm.
wonderful donors, and they're outfitted so that we can take, at least 20 or 30 animals. They have special containers that we use to put in there. As a matter of fact, we've got one leaving this next week. I don't think it's this
And
week.
those animals are already placed?
Yes, they are. What happens up there is they send us something and say these that they've gotten on our website. They found our animals that way, or they've got their end customer, their adopter, that's already done it and picked it out from this shelter. That's how it works. And then we make sure that they are healthy. We get health certificate, all these things to make sure it's healthy. And then those people, some of them are waiting there when we get there.
Oh, that's great.
So those animals have a chance they wouldn't have here.
I mean, I don't think people appreciate what a difference the spay-neuter piece of this makes in the overall elimination of excess animals. I mean, you're going to have animals
Mm-hmm.
that continue to procreate
Yeah,
because they're not spayed and neutered.
Exactly.
And it's just, you can't stop it. And for whatever reason, I know some of the reasons, we've been sort of an anti-low-cost spay-neuter state for some reason. I think I have an idea what the reason is,
Mhm.
and it all boils down to one thing: money. We need money for Shelby Humane, and they need money to do what they do. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and probably talk about more money. But we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We left talking about money, and we're going to come back talking about money. So you got something coming up, I hear?
Yes, we do. We have our annual Bark and Wine Gala that we have. That's our chief fundraiser for the year. It's on April the 6th. It's a beautiful rural venue. Of course, I cannot recall the name at this moment.
It's okay. It happens.
But anyway, it's a lot of fun.
But you can Google
Yeah.
or go to your website and find the details about the event. What type of event is it? An
Well,
auction-like thing?
we have auctions, of course, and of course, there's a meal that's kind of, this one is a casual, kind of some outdoor, in an older home. It's really beautiful, but it's usually the auction, and then we may have some music. We usually have music, but I have not, quite frankly, looked at this one as carefully as I have in the past, because the board's doing this for us this year. They usually do it, but they've really taken it over, which I'm excited about that.
So they solicit sponsors,
They do.
and then there's, I suppose, an admission. Are there animals available for adoption at the event?
We are not going to take animals for adoption. We've tried bringing animals, and sometimes that doesn't work because there's so much activity that scares the animals.
Yeah.
So
Is it a daytime or a nighttime
it's
event?
in the evening, and it starts in the day before it gets dark, and then it'll get dark there. So it's about 6 o'clock, something like that.
Is it formal or informal?
It's not going to be formal.
So
We've had
I don't need to
everything
break out
from-
the tux or
No,
anything.
you don't need to break out the tux. No, it really depends on what. The years I've been there, it depends on what you want to wear. Some people
Yeah.
are really dressed. Usually, we don't have this. This is a new venue. That's one reason I'm a little not as involved with this one. So, to me, I would wear a sundress if I were,
Yeah.
And
What is your budget, annual budget?
our budget for the fundraiser or the budget for
For the running of the Humane Society?
our budget is $2.2 million, which is a very small budget when
Yeah.
you consider we have 45 employees.
Yeah.
It needs to be better, but that's what we're able at this point. We've been able to consistently raise, and I can predict that that's what we'll raise. So we kind of live within our means.
Yeah. So you kind of back into your what you got coming in determines how
Yeah.
you spend it.
Yeah, I'm a very conservative budget manager, so I don't want to get myself over if I don't want to. But we've had some surprise donors that just pop up occasionally that are just make my day. And so, we can do some other things.
I know the State District Attorneys Association put in place a program that an assistant DA, Tanya Willingham, in Shelby County is involved in, where they provide canines for victim witnesses, and even there's some legislation that allows a defendant, somebody I might be representing, to be in the courtroom with their, I don't want to call it a service animal, but it is a service animal. I'm on the airport authority as well. We have a program called Travelers Loving Canines, TLC.
Yeah.
And we have animals a couple of days a week walking through the airport that have the opposite of what a service animal has on it. It has a vest that says, "Touch me."
Oh.
As a matter of fact, I was so amused by the vest, I asked that they get me one, and I have my own one. I have yet to wear it. I'm scared to wear it. I may pull it out at Halloween or something, but there's something about the presence of an animal that has a calming effect on individuals. When I interviewed Tanya regarding the District Attorneys Association's program, they're all over the state, but they go through a very strict regimen of training these dogs. That dog sat on my feet the whole time. So it's fascinating to me that animals can detect diabetes these days. I golf with a person that has an animal that's able to do that. If you had to talk to our TV audience and tell them your needs aside from money, what can they do to help you help these creatures at this point?
I think the biggest thing is to anybody you know that will listen is spay and neuter or neuter your animal, and get its vaccinations. The earlier, the better. But spay and neuter, if that had to get on one bandwagon, that would be it, because we wouldn't exist. We wouldn't have to do what we do, or would be a whole lot less of what we have to do. So I think that, and if you wanted to help, we subsidize so that some people who can't afford it can get their animals fixed. We have a program, a spay and neuter program, and we work with Alabama Spay and Neuter to do that. We work together to do that. So donations are always welcome to help us. They need to be earmarked for spay and neuter. We also, if you look, other than money or donations or just word of mouth about that particular issue, is we need volunteers. You know, we love volunteers. We'd like for volunteers to be available to walk dogs because they need to get out and not be in a kennel all the time.
Right.
Animals, dogs are things that need to get out and explore and sniff. That's their natural behavior. And to be a humane society, you need to allow that dog to have some natural behaviors. So we need volunteers to help us get those dogs out.
That's what my friend says when they're sniffing. They're getting information.
They are. They are. Probably more than we would want to know. But,
well, I hope that today's exposure on this show gets you some donations and also makes people aware of your existence in Columbiana, Alabama.
okay. Well, thank you.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
This is Our Issues Birmingham. Thank you for being with us also, and we will see you next Sunday.
We get it. Your mornings are hectic.
We're here to help you get ready for your day.
Good Morning Alabama on ABC 3340.
GMA doesn't waste your time.
Local weather, traffic, and news always on your screen.
So the information you need, always where you can see it, even during commercials.
Plus, we have the Good Morning Alabama Live Desk.
Always updating breaking news in your neighborhood and around the world.
Everything you need to prepare for your day. Good Morning Alabama on ABC 3340.